For young people in Africa, for young people in Nigeria, one thing that we've always wanted to do is we want to find a place where our skills, our abilities, merit, can be, rewarded, So you see that in our sports, you see that in fashion, you see that in music and media. Now, open source is that sort of platform where anyone who's interested in technology can get some guidance and mentorship and then follow principles to break into the technology industry.
我是 Zara.
My name is Arlemi. I'm a senior developer advocate at Postman.
My name is Aravina. I work on the GitHub education team.
Tejas Kumar, Director of Developer Relations at Zada.
My name is Nader Dabbit. I'm working currently in the Web3 space as a developer relations engineer with EdgeNode and the Graph Protocol.
I'm very glad to be here to see the beautiful faces. So if you are coming from Europe, welcome to Africa. If you're coming from America, welcome to Africa. If you're coming from within Africa, welcome to Nigeria, welcome to Lagos. We have fine jollof rice here.
From the moment I went to the hotel and ate jollof rice and what is it? Goat stew. Oh my God! Come on! And then something beautiful happened. I met all of you.
I had a lot of people in Nigeria over Twitter. I've watched some of them like from 19 years old, growing up and developing careers, right? And I also grew up with a lot of people from Nigeria. I have Nigerian names given to me by my friends, and so to be here in the flesh, meet people face to face and watch them succeed and watch them grow and flourish has been a dream of mine for a long time. So to be here at OSCA Fest facilitates all of that, and I get to give a talk. Woo. I'm very thankful to be here.
Beautiful happened. I met all of you. People I've spoken to on Twitter, people I've mentored, people I've bought Udemy courses for. I've met you, I've heard your stories face to face, eye level as my equal. What an amazing opportunity. So let me tell you, Lagos, I am inspired to be here.
Am I supposed to feel that I don't know what's happening? How are you? We are speaking here. I'm turning the back.
Sorry, excuse me. Femi Adebayo. Okay, go on.
I want you to feel possibilities when you get up and you look at the people around you in this room today. Which is why I am going to be telling you my OSCA Fest story. I want to explain to you how contributing to this event 2 years ago changed the trajectory of my career.
My name is Dominion Ero, but everybody calls me Dom. I'm a video game designer and community manager for a company called CarryFirst. I felt I had a peculiar story to tell. I did volunteer at the last OSCA event as a member of the design team, contributing to things like creating swags for people to wear. And the connections and the friendships I made from that event have been paramount to my career and who I am today. So I decided I was going to share that story with people and get them to see that when you attend events like this and you utilize the connections, the people and the resources that you have, that the future is open and there is so much you can become.
So back to my story. We started attending OSCA Fest and I decided to go for this event called Sustain. Now, if you want to know a bit more about Sustain, there's this thing called the breakout session where we have groups of people sit around and talk about things for 15 minutes and then we keep switching and you go to different sessions. And since I didn't know as much about open source and I didn't know much of the people there and I really wanted to meet them, the keynote speakers and all, I decided I was going to do the biggest ITK I've ever done in my life. And I'm going to talk, I'm going to interact, ask questions, write things down, jotting things down for no reason whatsoever, but always be interactive because I wanted to start by making connections with the people I wanted to meet on a platonic level first, right? You don't have to wait to shine in the big things. For a lot of you, I'm sure you spent 2 hours praying that when you come to this event, Adora is going to walk past, and then when she walks past, she will trip on a wire, and then you'll catch her, and then you'll bring her up, and then she'll now say, oh, thank you, what's your name? You know what, I'm giving you a job in Microsoft right now. That is not going to happen, okay? Leave that for the Indian movies. The truth is that you are probably going to start off by doing the smaller things. A lot of workshops have happened. How many times have you actually tried to interact in these workshops? Like, talk to people, be open, ask questions, and do things. You don't need to start with one-on-one connections. You can start on a more platonic level, and it's really changed my career. To give you a perspective, during the pandemic, I decided to host this event called Unduzi. Now, I didn't know as many people, but because of OSCA Fest, I knew these ones, and let me show you what they could do. So Amanda Kasari, she was a keynote speaker at the last OSCA Fest, and I talked to her about the event I was hosting. And she said, you know what, I can't speak because I don't know much, but here's what I'll do. I'll connect you to a man called Mark Mandel. Mark Mandel is someone who is currently building a multiplayer server for multiplayer games, and he works on Google's gaming open source. And I was able to meet this guy for nothing. She just connected me to him. So picture this, I'm a 20-year-old hosting an event with folks from Google coming to speak at it for literally doing nothing.
What you would notice about this conference for me is that it's synonymous with growth. 2 years ago when we held the first OSCA Fest, and now if you look at most of the participants, the organizers, they've grown leaps and bounds, taking positions in international companies. So I think OSCA Fest is all about growth, it's all about personal development, and it's trying to carry everyone along. They say a rising tide carries all boats. So
and given the nature of what open source look like and what the Open Source Festival is designed for, it is an opportunity for you to explore, to basically bring that creativeness. So yes, we internally want to make sure that we're looking for ways to give people that opportunity to network, opportunity to find opportunity for career growth, and also opportunity for them to collaborate. And that's why we're having it in person. And again, that's one of the reasons we call it the Open Source Festival.
I think open source in Africa has so much in store that we can actually tie it into a space, and that's why I have the Sustain Africa, we have the Open Source Festival, which is actually very focused on telling people how open the future is, and it just creates that open space in people's minds to actually imagine what their own future is in open source. So I think open source in this way is actually very, very limitless and open for every single skill, career path, different type of people to just come into the space and collaborate and then build something beautiful together.
I think in the coming years we would see more adoption of open source projects in Africa, and I think we would also see more projects that are open source that are being developed and created in Africa. So that
we want to enforce community, we want to enforce understanding, we want to enforce knowledge, right? So that we provide the tools needed. Yeah, so the future of open source in Africa is really important, and it's only going to grow.
Right. So the way I see open source, in the next 5 years, next 10 years, open source is going to be mainstream. So mainstream simply means you're going to have a lot of people from here, this part of the world, contributing actively to the most popular projects globally. And you're going to be having them build tons of projects and maintain a lot, and even build commercial products of the open source projects people are contributing to. So I see it's being mainstream in Africa for the future, very mainstream.
It could take a long time, it could take a short time. Everyone's journey is different, but just keep doing it and also keep amplifying it. One thing about open source is your growth has to do a lot with your public contributions. So keep talking about it, keep spreading the word about what you're doing, but also remain consistent. And also while you're doing it, try to also ensure that you're growing as well.
The thing that we see a lot is ton more contribution and maintenance coming from Africa in general. So the ones that I mentioned, the one that are Postman supernovas as we call them, tons of them are now coming from Africa all around the place. So we have Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, etc., which is amazing. So we don't see that stopping anytime soon. We do think and you can tell by this conference that the tech sector is booming around here. There's so many people and so many conversations going on. So yeah, I would say in one word, the future for open source in Africa is bright. Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, if you attended some of the talks we had this year, you'd see that we had people who talked about their stories and how OSCA Fest 2020 changed their lives. Even those of us that are organizers are people who have been impacted by open source ourselves. People came here in 2020 and they're here again in 2022 sharing how their lives literally changed in 1 year thanks to Open Source Community Africa. If you do the same thing these people did, put yourself out there, decide to contribute to open source, you may be the one speaking next year at OSCA Fest 2023, talking about your story and how it has impacted you.
What that I would give out there is consistency, persevere, collaboration,
resilience,
motivated,
Say impact.
Action.
Fail. Feel free to fail. That's the word, because people tend to hold themselves to higher standards. To be honest, people feel when you start and you contribute to this particular software or program, they have to accept it and be happy with what you did. Your code might not always be clean. Your documentation might not always be the most understandable. Your design might not always be the best. But what matters is that you did it, and even though you fail, you learned something. I believe failure is an easier pill to swallow than regret. So it's better you fail. Just be ready to do that.